1 year later, it has been a real exciting ride. Getting to have my loved ones here by my side. Teenage me would love to find a reason to why, 'cause I'm shy now. This version of Joel wants to be your dog and guide. Another new season of Not Your Average Joel starts right now. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Not Your Average Joel. So today we are actually on episode 85 today, which means that we are going along here on season 4, and it's been going really good. This is probably the most fun that I've had this season because I've been having so many different guests on here, and I'm so glad to have two past guests back here, two really good guests back here. I'm glad that they had the time to do this today because this is going to be a fun topic to talk about. But before I tell everybody what this topic is about, I'm going to welcome both of them back. So I first want to welcome back Miguel to the channel. This is his third time here, and it's so good to have him back here.
Adieu.
And I love that he's still in outer space, just living life up there and just
Whoa.
enjoying.
Oh, oh, oh.
Yeah, there he goes. It's floating away. There
I
we
got it.
go.
I got it. Oh God. Oh, oh,
Yep,
oh.
there he goes. Back out of there. It's that gravity. So
Nice to
it's
be back,
definitely,
Joel. I
yeah.
appreciate you having me on here, and it's definitely going to be a fun topic.
Yes, most definitely. I know that recently he's been doing some music out there, doing some covers on TikTok, and him being out in outer space, he needs to be singing "Gravity." I think that would be really good, or "E.T." by Katy Perry or something like that, something very outer space. So,
I'm about
so
saying,
yeah.
oh, what's that? What's that song? God, the one by Travis Scott. The the one where he's the astronaut. What's it called?
I know. I feel like I know
Astro
what you're
mode.
talking
Um,
about.
I think it's
oh
Astro
yeah,
mode or something like that.
Yeah. It's like
I haven't. See, I
I feel
haven't.
like I've heard it on TikTok.
Yeah,
I don't
I was
I
about
don't
to
know if
say
I
you
could
probably like.
I don't know if I could play that on the guitar, but I mean it was the first space song I thought about.
Yeah. Hey, you never know. You could always mix it up and slow it on down.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so yeah, y'all be sure to go check him out on TikTok because he's got some good covers out there, and you never know, he might add some Travis Scott up in there. So y'all go check it out. What is your username? What, Miguel Angel
Uh
or?
I think it's Miguel Mercado 78. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, definitely give me a thumbs up. I got some pretty good stuff. I actually love playing music. It's a passion of mine. I have many passions, and it's something that I wanted to chase my dreams. And you're never gonna know whether or not you'll be, or you'll blow up unless you try. So I mean, my goal here is to one day be able to share the music that I've written and composed to the world. So far, you know, I'm working on that, and uh, right now I'm singing covers. Just for the people to enjoy and singing because I enjoy love and I love singing. So it's something that has always been something that I love doing, and I hope you guys enjoy. And I mean, I hope everybody loves and enjoys hearing my stuff.
Yeah, most definitely. I hope that, you get a good audience going and then you want to start releasing your own original music out there too. That's going to be awesome. One day everyone's
Oh
going to
yeah,
start from somewhere.
oh yeah, oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah. So speaking of following in your dreams, we got another guest here. I call him the most famous person that I know personally. This is Chris Kelly. This is his second time back here. He's out there doing great things out in New Mexico, being in some TV shows here and there. So it's definitely good to have him back. I know he stays pretty busy, but I'm glad that he's here. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
absolutely. And I'm ready to talk about this topic. It's going to be such a good one because I'm just curious to hear about these stories. And, definitely viewers, if you have a story in regard to this topic that I'm going to bring up here in a little bit, definitely comment. I would love to hear your stories as well. So today, the name of the topic, I was thinking of like Wizard of Oz in a way because I named it Ghosts, Bigfoot, Spirits, Oh My. So that's the name of the episode. And I want to talk about this because I know a lot of people are divided on these kind of things. Like, um, some people don't believe in like ghosts and Bigfoot and spirits and stuff like that, and some people do. So I kind of want to get two people's different like perspectives on this, and of course I want to put my input into this as well. So I want to go ahead and get started with the first question, with just the simple question of, I'm sure your answers may be different depending on like these three things, but do y'all believe in ghosts and like spirits and Bigfoot? Who wants to go first?
I'll let our guest go first.
Oh no.
The famous person first.
Oh my God.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Oh yeah.
well, I mean, really do think that there is other worldly things out there, whether it be Bigfoot or spirits or ghosts. This looks something I really love to talk about because it's like, you know, we all have everything in front of us, but I do believe that there is an aspect to this world that is not exactly, um, it can't be concrete. It's not, there is not, um, you know how when you say you get like a certain energy from a person, like when they walk
Hmm.
into the
Yeah.
room, you know their energy, you know what kind of person they are, or at least you tapped into something else that isn't explainable, but you know,
Hmm.
whether by somebody like coming in and, you know, saying something, or sometimes it's just somebody's presence that kind of can put you off, or kind of just be like, oh, that person's cool. But it's unexplainable in essence. So I really do believe that there is another side of this world, and if you look at so many accounts on all kinds of religions, there's always something there. There's always some other creature that's unexplainable, or there's just way too many accounts, way too many, way too many eyewitness accounts, fiction or fact. So I really do believe that is there is something out there, and whether it be ghost, whether it be the spirit of somebody who passed away, I'm not sure how much I believe in a spirit per se and what we have as our definition of a spirit, but I do believe that maybe that spirit or whatever we call it is an imprint of something that has happened in the past, which energy was like so strong at that point in time that it's kind of just an imprint there. Maybe it,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what
I've
I
heard
mean?
of
Maybe
something like
it's
that.
not. Hmm.
I
Maybe it's
think
not like a spirit. No, no, go. What were you saying?
I think some people like that. It's they say it's like an echo. Like an echo of
Hmm.
a presence that used to be there and their spirit. Like it's weird because it's like it's almost like their life that they lived, their spirit has passed through there, and it's an echo of their spirit passing through. They could already be in the next realm or the other place where we don't know what it looks like because we're still alive. But
Hmm.
I think they call it an echo. Um,
Hmm.
and actually, it's like they also call some of these like when people buy houses and they hear certain noises and it's kind of calm and it's not like paranormal activity where stuff's getting tossed around the room. I think they call that
Hmm.
like a residual haunting is where people basically backtrace their steps from when they used to be alive, and it's like something that they experience in houses and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
continue.
No, 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 no. I was just saying, like that's basically what I was getting at. Like it. there's definitely something else out there. And I really do believe that some of that stuff is coming to light a little bit more these days. Um, but it's kind of hard to say. It is, but I do believe that there's something else out there.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. So a quick random question that I forgot to bring into like the equation, like how do y'all feel about aliens? Do y'all believe in aliens?
So okay, that is a very difficult question because there's a lot of people
Hmm.
that don't believe in the devil himself. So my theory behind aliens, it all connects to the same thing, which is actually Bigfoot, spirits, ghosts, demons. So a lot of people ask me like why I think that. And the reason why is because I don't know if you heard of the show called Skinwalker Ranch where they see everything. It's like everything paranormal that could happen, it happens there. Like it's like a big old circle, and it all happens in that area. So the term skinwalker actually comes from Africa. And I don't know if you ever seen images of like or looked up images of what a skinwalker actually looks like. These videos of these like naked demon looking creatures is not what the actual like, image of the skinwalker looks like. The skinwalker in Africa has this like fluffy hat. It almost looks like an animal, and he's got these horns sticking out of his head, and it's almost like he's a wizard, like a wizard type person. But the legends of Africa, or like the I guess the stories behind the skinwalker, um, is that they can shapeshift into different animals. They can actually turn into different animals, and that using magic. And I know to a lot of people that may seem crazy. Like the first time I heard it, I was like, "What?" But now that I've gotten older and I've heard stories like I have hundreds of stories of different encounters that people have told me that I just honestly was in like shock. I was like, I can't believe this stuff actually goes on in our world. Just like our friend said, like this stuff definitely exists. This stuff is definitely out there. And aliens, I mean, who's to say it isn't the devil himself? Because at the end of the day, the devil is the master of illusion and deception. And there was actually a guy who warned people about this. It said, technology is obviously going to advance, and technology is far more advanced than we know it is. They keep a lot of stuff from us. There was actually a jet back in the day that they came up with, and they came out with, and the year that it came out, like it had came out earlier on throughout our time, and they took a picture in that time, and it looked exactly like the jet they came out with years later. And so, like, who's to say they don't already have the technology that we think aliens might have? And you see, people have seen supposedly UFOs go into the ocean. Everything's coming from inner Earth. And there was actually a video I saw that they said that every UFO either goes into a mountain and it disappears, it goes into the ocean and it disappears. So it's coming from the Earth. So I think that these aliens, I mean, I, I think it's a big hoax. I think it's a big like illusion for people who don't believe in God, for people who don't believe in the spiritual realm, for people who don't believe in demons and stuff like that. And I mean, the fact that these creatures, nobody can ever catch them, nobody can ever find them, like Bigfoot. Who's to say they're not some type of skinwalker that they can shapeshift and turn into different animals, and that's why they can never find them. Just like in the Greek mythological times, they had half man, half beast. This skinwalker thing has existed since Egyptian times. Look at the Sphinx, half man, half beast. Anything that's half man, half beast is ungodly. And you can track it throughout timelines. It's a pattern. Their history tends to repeat itself. And in the Greek mythological times, they had mermaids. People would never even believe mermaids would be real. And back in the day, they used to talk about it like it was nothing. Ancient Greece. And then they talked about the Minotaur. They talked about centaurs, and those are all half man, half beast. They found a labyrinth that they think was a Minotaur labyrinth filled with bones and human bones, and they never found any animal bone. That's because I feel like the Minotaur was some type of like magical being that could transform into different animals. That's what I feel like it is. I mean, that I don't know. What do you guys think?
Hmm, very interesting, for sure. What do you think, Chris, before I give my input?
Um, I think that I think we all saw the TikTok video of the "I'm telling you right now." Have you seen that? When she's
Yeah.
like, um, uh, she was saying that the man wasn't real, and there's a lot of speculation around that. Just that one video on TikTok.
Hmm.
I do find it strange that after that video, the U.S. government is starting to claim that aliens are real, or aliens are this, or we
Yeah.
found. So I do think there's something there. I don't know what it is, but like I said, once again, I think there's something there, and that's kind of my whole like perspective on a lot of things. There's something out there, but I don't know what. But I think with the whole aliens thing, if you go back into even just the, like I said, there's a many accounts on different religions of different beings being in the world at some point in some time. And in
Oh
the
yeah.
Bible, if you even go back to the Bible, you have the giants. I think I
Hmm.
forget what they were called. I forget, but they were giants. And it's funny how when the Great Flood happened, um, I mean, what do you like that whole flood covered the whole earth? What do you think happened to the giants? They were covered
They
with,
flooded.
Hmm.
which
Yeah.
makes the mountains.
Which
What
is
are
the
the
same
mountains?
thing that happened to the dinosaurs.
Which is, yeah, exactly. These large creatures or these large giant humans must have been somewhere here on Earth at some point. Something was there. Even then, you still have, like people even speculate the Great Flood even happening. But how do we get the, once again, we go back to the mountains. And ever since I've been out in Albuquerque, oh, my camera's shaking bad. Ever since I've been out to Albuquerque and looked and seen the mountains, they're actually kind of creepy at night. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't like driving. I don't like seeing mountains at night. It's kind of creepy. I'm not even gonna lie. It's kind of creepy because like when you're driving, it's like, what is that big shadow that is like in the sky almost? It looks like it's like
Mm.
encroaching over you. It's kind of weird. It's kind of creepy. Um, but like I said, even if you just look back in like the more the book that is accepted in U.S. culture for the most part, um, the Bible, and it talking about magicians. They mention magicians. They mention giants.
Yeah.
They mention things that I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things that they just leave out because it's like, well, it's not really important because we all know what the Bible's for. It's not really for that, but
Yeah. True
it's
that.
not really talk about superhuman beings or anything like that. But it does mention that there are other powers. And he never said that there wasn't. You know what I mean? And he there was also angels that apparently existed in almost like in a human form at one point. If you look back into the Apocrypha, if you go back into like different books, you see these different creatures, whether it be their account on something or this person's account or that person's account. Somebody saw something. Somebody
Hmm.
saw something that was otherworldly, that was not of our appearance. It was
Hmm.
weird, and I really do believe that aliens, uh, I don't know, maybe there are other beings around, but um I also really do believe that there are just supernatural beings that can take form, a different form, like Vito was saying,
Hmm.
or can take a different shape, because they weren't meant to be seen. Those are beings that weren't meant to be
Yeah.
on human eye. I don't. That's where that's my
I
personal
think
opinion.
I think I think that's a good observation, and definitely like, I mean, it's just crazy to me because like like I said, it all goes back to the Egyptian times. Like, so the reason why God had Moses raised with the Egyptians is so he could learn their ways, so he can learn how to write, in the tablets, the concrete tablets that they wrote on, and they found actual tablets stating that angels fell from the sky and they taught Egyptians how to do makeup and how to create wigs. The demons are the ones who taught the Egyptians how to create wigs and do makeup. So I'm just like, to me, everybody's like, oh, they're aliens. What if, I mean, technically we're all aliens. We're not from this world. We're created by a being that's higher powered. I mean, if you want to talk about aliens, then technically, yeah, we're all aliens. Aliens exist because we are it. Like, I mean, if you want to put it in a technical observation, I mean, that is possibly correct. I mean, I'm not going to say, oh, I am right, but I mean, that's my how you say it, like my opinion on it. And yeah, I mean, angels have been around for generations, and who's to say that, I mean, for instance, the giants. There was giants also in the garden, the promised land. The promised land, when Moses was in the desert, he sent Joseph to go spy on the promised land. They came back with fruits bigger than they can carry. And I asked my dad. My dad, he's a Bible. He read the Bible, and he was always talking to us and telling us like, oh, yeah. But when we were kids, we didn't really want to pay attention. Now that we're older, we're like, I want to know, Dad. I go ask him questions all the time, like, where did dinosaurs come from? He's like, you remember when Joseph went to go spy on the promised land, and the people of Moses were skeptical that, is there even a promised land? And they came back with fruits bigger than they could carry. And they said there was giants that were taller than trees themselves. And they said that everything there tried to kill them. What does that sound like to you? They were dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are mostly the most of the dinosaurs that existed were carnivores. They had, sharp teeth, and that's how they identified, scientists identified them as carnivores. And all we could find was fossils because they got flooded. If the world were really to be hit by a meteor, why is the world surrounded by water? So to me, it's not logical. It doesn't make sense that there was a Big Bang and that life just created itself by itself out of organisms. Even matter itself, for matter to exist, it has to come from somewhere. So what created all these things? So it all goes back to one thing. I mean, like, something created it. And it's like what they say, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? You, and if evolution were real, why don't the monkeys keep evolving into men?
Yeah.
That, I mean, that just proves to me, like, science is, like, it works for good and it works for bad. Like, some people use it for good, some people use it to trick people, to kind of make them think a certain way that, and it's been like that for a long time. It's been like that for a long time. I remember when I was in school, it'd be like, science, you're gonna die one day and your genes will go on. Like, you'll still be alive, but you'll be alive in your genes that you pass down. And me growing up, like, as a Christian, I was just kind of like, I don't know, but I mean, like, when we die, I'm pretty sure we still have a soul and it goes somewhere, right? Like, but they were saying that we have no soul, and that's kind of what, like, kids think nowadays. Because I mean, they're like, oh, science is, like, my little brother, he's a Scientologist, and I'm not saying it's wrong for him to think that way. That's just his way of thinking. He thinks that is the way to go, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. If you're happy, I'm happy. But I'm not gonna sit there and, like, be like, you're wrong. But a lot of people don't really understand that, like, right now, the biggest deceivement that the devil has, like, like, the biggest lie, I guess, is the fact that the devil tricked the world. The biggest trick is that the devil tricked the world that he is not real. But I mean, he is real. You got people doing witchcraft and people messing with things they shouldn't be messing with, and honestly, it's very dangerous, and it's not for mankind. Who's to say that magic the reason why God didn't let the reason why man or God told man not to do magic is because it's not for them, not in this life, like not us living beings at least. Maybe it's just for those beings that got sent casted from the heavens, and they perform these tricks, these magic illusions, or maybe they're just illusions, and we think it's real magic, or who knows? But the thing is that these beings have the ability to do many different things. They have abilities to do many different things, and like I, it's just it's insane. Like people don't even think, oh, magic is real, like real magic. They're like, oh, that's make believe. You're talking about something that doesn't even exist. But back in the day, that like it was more real than before when technology even existed. Like people have recordings throughout time of different occurrences that have to do with magic, and I mean, if you go to Africa, they actually have rituals where they use magic, and they have something called voodoo, which is one of the most vile and like horrific magics, because they have different ways of torturing people, and it's not good. But I didn't look into that stuff because it's not for us to look into. Just let it be. And whatever it is, maybe we might not see it in this lifetime. Maybe we might not see it ever. But I don't want anything to do with it. And I know it's dark. I know it's very dark because I've seen that movie, The Exorcist, and I don't want to end up like that girl.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah. I'm like, I
Yeah.
do not want my head to spin the whole 360. Like, I like, like, you know what? If there is aliens, okay, they can have their attention. If there is magic going on, they can have their stuff over there too. I don't want anything to do with that stuff. Like, you guys can have it. It's just not for me.
Mhm. Yeah, well, before I even give my input with these three things, I just want to say I'm glad that both of y'all are on this episode because so far I feel like y'all both have given like really good like observations and like perspectives on this. So I'm so glad y'all are on this because like y'all even open it up to more things that I'm questioning too, like I've about like of course like the giants, mermaids, like all of these different things, and like when Chris, you brought up about giants. Some reason I thought about Moana like immediately because I was thinking of like that
Mhm.
island.
Yep,
How
as soon
Oh,
as you
is
get
it
into
like
the
a
island,
person laying
like
or
you
whatever?
literally,
So I
literally.
mean, you may have something going there, like with the with the giants and the Great Flood and all that. Like so, it makes me even question that too, and like want to think more on that too. So a lot to think about for sure. But as far as for me, like with these three, I could say as far as like Ghost, I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of torn on. I don't want to say yes or no because I know eventually we're gonna get talk about like experiences and all that, which we'll get to in a little bit. But like, I guess as far as my experiences with Ghost, I haven't had one yet, so I guess it's kind of spoiler alert to that. But it's only because I don't know if I'm afraid to go do something to where like to test it out because I'm afraid it might be true, or because I watch stuff on TV as well, like paranormal activity stuff, ghost hunting stuff, but maybe I'm afraid to wonder like is it true or not because I know people use like ghost and spirits like kind of interchangeably if that's the right word. Yeah, they kind of use a hand in hand because it's almost like the same thing to them. But the reason why I would say I believe in spirits, but not sure on ghosts, is because I guess when I think of spirit, I guess kind of like Miguel, like I guess when it comes to like my faith, I think of more of like the Holy Spirit, and I think of like demons and angels and stuff like that. And I definitely believe in that being true for sure. And like as far as ghosts, I think of like somebody passed away in their house and like their presence is still there even after they pass away, which that's where I'm torn on. Like I just don't know if like am I just walking into the house and they just there is some kind of stage thing to where it's like, oh, the wind is blowing all of a sudden. Why is the wind blowing? Was there a like, is there something that I don't know that's going on the other end? Like, or is it real? So that's why I'm like torn on it because I'm kind of maybe I'm scared to know if I'm being honest. I'm scared to know if it's true or not. But I lean a little bit more towards no, but I don't want to fully say that I don't believe it. So it might be something maybe one day I'll find out the answer to. I know one day we will know the answer to it, but I would say probably yes on spirits and no on ghosts. And before I talk about Bigfoot, did you have any input, Miguel? It looked like you had something to say.
So the ghost thing. I just thought about fifth grade. I don't know if you remember this teacher who took a photograph outside of her window. She said she just felt something. And I was in Miss Reed's class, or was it? I don't remember if that was her name, but I remember this teacher coming in. I don't remember who all was in that class, but I do remember this teacher coming in, and she had this photograph, and she said she felt this, like, I don't know, I guess this feeling. She immediately just grabbed her camera and took a picture of her car. So her husband had passed away, and she was talking to the teacher, and the Miss Reed brought all the kids. She's like, look at this, and like, she's like, she took a picture, and in the picture you can see a man sitting in the car. You can perfectly see a red tie and a suit. You can't really see the face, but you can see a head figure. And she said it was the same outfit her husband used to go to work, and that he usually like that was his car. So I mean, he usually woke up at a certain time in the morning, and she was like, I don't know why, but I just felt like grabbing the camera, and boom, she took the picture. You could see a perfect silhouette of a person. That was the first picture I'd seen of somebody, saying that was a spirit. And honestly, I was like, whoa.
Mm,
So I don't know. Like, I'm like you on the ghost thing because I have an experience, and I guess we'll talk about that when we get to it. So on the ghost thing, I say yes. On the spirits, definitely. And on Bigfoot, I don't know. They got to catch him. They got to like put a net over him, and they got to like have him in the. I mean, I don't want them to be mean to him. If it is a creature, don't be mean to it. Like, I don't want them to like capture it and like like stick him with a stake or something, and like, we have his head. Like, no, I don't want them to be cruel to any animal, but I mean, definitely need some evidence, because without evidence, you can't really like say, oh, it's real. But I mean, I don't know. Anything is possible. I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens, right? So yeah,
very true.
that's all I
Like
wanted to say.
you talking about the photos, I have seen those photos on social media where like someone's taking a picture and then you'd see like at the feet of people's pictures, there's like
Yeah.
somebody's head that's in there in between. It's like,
Oh yeah.
what?
I
Like,
don't like I don't like the creepy ones. I was like, don't take if I see a picture with somebody creepy standing behind me, I'm definitely gonna run, run, run. I'm gonna be like Forrest Gump. I'm not gonna stop running.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, those photos, yeah, will creep me out because so that's where I get torn with this because it's like that looks like a real person that's like in that picture that wasn't there.
Yeah,
So, and like
yeah.
Chris was talking about the woman that was on the airline that's like, I'm getting off here. That person is not real back there. It's like, it's just those crazy things that makes me torn. But I do
And
want to
and
say, oh yeah, go ahead.
oh no, no, no. And I was gonna say, and I don't know if you've heard about like little kids seeing like their grandparents or something like that. Like, I've definitely heard stories of kids that like the parents saying, "Oh, my kid saw his grandfather" or something like that.
Hmm.
I've I've heard stuff like that.
Yeah, that's really interesting for sure. Ugh. But for me with Bigfoot, I'm gonna be honest. My answer is a big fat no. I don't believe in Bigfoot, and here's the reason why. It's because two reasons why. For one, it seems like every time there's a photo of Bigfoot, it's always blurry. It's like, yo, we got some good phones nowadays. Why are we?
Yeah,
Why is it always
yeah.
blurry? Why is it always pixelized? And and all that. So I don't believe in it for that reason. And it also, why is there 12 seasons of Finding Bigfoot? You still ain't got him. Like that's what's confusing to me. I'm confused. I'm bamboozled. Like somebody like clear it up for me. So, and the show got canceled too because I guess they didn't find Bigfoot. I guess because I feel like if so, I don't know if I believe in Bigfoot. So, I'm gonna say a big fat no to that one. I probably believe in Big Bird more than believe in Bigfoot because Big Bird at least was on Jimmy Fallon's show. So shout out to Big Bird from Sesame Street. So I'm a so I would say, yes, I do believe in Big Bird. I don't know about mermaids though. I was thinking about mermaids because you think about like the water, like how we don't know like how deep it goes and like what all is
Yeah.
underneath there. So mermaids, I'm gonna say, I don't know. You never know. It may be, it may not. As far as aliens, um, I guess Miguel would know best because you're out there in outer space. Did you see any up there yet?
Yeah.
Nope. They're not up here. They're all coming from Earth.
Wait, they're in Roswell, New Mexico, which is not far from
Yeah,
Chris.
right.
Have you seen any over there?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Which
that.
I actually did visit Roswell not too long ago. It was it's an interesting spot for sure. Um, I mean, right now I just feel like that's a just big marketing, money, money, money. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think for me, I'm gonna say ghost, possibly spirits, yes, Bigfoot, undecided, mermaids, undecided, aliens, undecided. Um, is there something out there? Yes, I can say that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is it what by
Yeah.
is it by our definition? I don't think so. I think it's something,
No.
you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
ugh, ugh.
Something supernatural, we'll call it. Something
Yeah,
something
exactly.
else.
Yeah, there you
Exactly.
go. Yeah, very
It's
true.
just it's just
So,
something supernatural. We don't know what's out there for real.
mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah, you were right about that. So, yeah, I love that. Like, we expanded it to more than just those three because it does make you start wondering about all the other stuff that people, question about, with
Like the
mermaids and
chupacabra. I've never seen a chupacabra.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
very. So, yeah, that is, just all of these different ones. It's very interesting to think about just to hear how people perceive it, like how they do they believe it or not. So I guess kind of leading to my next question, I guess, I've kind of talked a little bit about it as far as ghosts go, but have either of y'all ever experienced anything like paranormal, like with ghosts or spirits or Bigfoot?
Bigfoot.
My brother, he's got a Bigfoot.
Shout out to the big feet. Size
Yeah,
14s.
you know what they say about people with big feet. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh. Um, yeah, I have had experiences before. Specifically when I was a little kid. Um, and I think there's a reason to, I think there's a link between children and what isn't seen. I think there is a link between that. I do think that um, the mind, after a certain point of aging, is not easily achieved. I think that um, you, I think like being a kid has this world of imagination, one, two, creativity, three, it's more full of magic. Like how many times have, you know, I mean, everybody can, everybody has been a kid, but you have a friend, an imaginary friend or something like that. Or, you know, I do think that your mind can create more when you're a kid than when you're an adult. I don't know. I think we do lose some of that potential, mind potential, I guess you could call it, when we grow
Yeah.
up, which is why, um, once again, a lot of religion, a lot of different religions also say it's good to be like a kid. It's good to have a childlike um, mind because you're more open, you're more aware, you're more in tune with what's around you than just one thing. It's not just about what you see, it's about what you can believe, it's about what you know what I mean. There's so many avenues that you can take to be in a childlike state of mind than an adult who, oh yeah, that's not it. That's that. You know what I mean? There's a lot more to be seen as a kid and to be learned that you can learn as a kid versus somebody who's an adult and knows everything. You know what I mean? And so I do
Yeah.
think there's a link there. But when I getting to my experience when I was little, and I remember it plain as day, I was going to I was going to I actually don't remember where I was going to. I don't know if I was sleeping or if I was dreaming. I still don't know to this day. I can still replay this scene in my head like nobody, like I can rewind it, fast forward it, pause it, whatever, but I can still see it. And it had like this dreamlike feature to it. So I was walking outside. I was in on my bike, and across the street, I saw a little boy, and the little boy was just playing and whatnot. But his dad and his mom was arguing in the house. They were arguing, and they were just like literally across the street. Like I said, I can see it right now. Um, and the little kid, he had little overalls on. The guy was wearing a business suit, and the mom was wearing like a dress. And I could hear them arguing in the house while the kid was outside. And so the kid ended up going into the street, and as soon as the dad walked out, he looked at me and then looked at the kid, and the kid, it was almost like my vision went into, and it was like I almost took place of the kid because I looked, and then the car was coming and he got hit. And I told my aunt, I would tell my aunt, I would tell my grandma, I told everybody in the house that there was a little boy. And they know to this day, and they will not stray from that story that I used to talk about a little kid that was there. And so one day my aunt, um, this is a completely separate story. We're going to the second story. One day my aunt woke up about three something a.m. Of course, the 3 o'clock time, witching hour.
Yeah,
Um,
witching hour.
she woke up and she screamed, like she ran down the stairs, screamed like we didn't know what was going on. I was sleeping downstairs, but nobody knew what was going on. She was freaking out. He was thoroughly convinced that somebody pulled a ponytail. And then the third story is she went upstairs and I was already asleep and she thought that I was, or either I was gone, one or the other. Anyway, she went upstairs, went into my grandmother's bedroom and looked and thought it was me. And she saw a little boy and he looked up at her and vanished. And I
Ooh.
still ask her to this day if that story is real, and she will not budge on that story ever. She does not budge on that story, and I do not budge on that. Whatever vision or dream or whatever I had was like more real than the others, and it's too vivid. And how do I remember that from being 3, 4 years old at the time? You know what I mean? That was just way too vivid, way too traumatic of a scene to forget. And that was, I don't know how that came about. I really don't know how that vision or whatever it came about. I just remember it. And like I said, if you ask me to play it, if you ask me to pause it, if you ask me to rewind it, if you ask me to fast forward it, I can do all the above because it was that crazy and dramatic of a scene to where I will not never ever forget that. And I do think that, like I said, I do think if I were to go there, and I have been there. The last time I visited Alabama, I went to go see it, and the whole apartment complex is run down. It's so crazy how that place is run down now. But I was told that nobody ever stays there longer than about a year. That apartment
Ooh.
specifically. because so nobody stays there longer than about a year. And it right, and so we had like this on to my next story. We had this, yeah, I got plenty. On to my next story, I just like I'm sitting here, the stairs would be my backdrop because the stairs were coming down this way. So I would be here and it'd be late at night and every one of every one of my family members who was in the house always said that we felt like there was somebody watching us from the stairs. And you know because the air changes when somebody walks in the room. You know the air changes when somebody walks in the room. You don't
Yeah, the
have to look.
atmosphere completely shifts.
It does. It has like this lower frequent. I don't know what it is, but
It's the
you
electromagnetic
feel it.
energy. We are all at a certain
There we go.
frequency, and yeah,
It's weird. It's weird. And so you would feel it, and it's like the air changing. Our computer was facing the window, and the hallway was in the back, and we feel like somebody's watching us from the hallway, once again by the stairs. And then there was one time where I was watching TV, and I forgot what I was watching, but it was late, late, late at night. Went to go use the bathroom, came back, and meant, not to mention that when you press, when you have your button that says last, like, oh, I can press last and it'll go back to the last channel I was on. Neither one of my channels was on Cartoon Network, but when I came back, that TV was on Cartoon Network. And there is no way that I can explain that there's no way that that TV could have been on Cartoon Network when I wasn't watching Cartoon Network. I think I was watching like AMC or something like that, Turner Classic Movies, and it ended up flipping to
nice.
Channel 18. Channel 18 was Cartoon Network in Birmingham at the time. I don't know if it's changed or not, but um, yeah, Cartoon Network was changed to cartoons, and Looney Tunes was on. And I ran upstairs, and I remember never wanting to sleep on my own in that room that we slept in. It always felt like somebody was either out right outside the hallway or inside the room or watching from the bathroom in the room. It just didn't, it never sat right.
Yeah, you always had like an
So
uneasy feeling almost.
it was always an uneasy feeling.
Ugh.
So, I'll tell you one more story because that's almost like five stories I told you. There's another
Shoot,
story
you
I
can
have.
tell them all. You can tell them all, bro. I'm over here like,
I,
uh,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And I'm just gonna
but
tell
you
you
want to
mine. This
what?
is not even like anybody
I'm
else's. I
kind,
have a whole bunch of other accounts.
I'm kind of regretting it because I'm at the house by myself. No, just kidding.
It's creepy. It really makes you wonder. And it's just like
Yeah,
how, you know what I mean? When you are so there's some things that and I was watching on TikTok, some people are like they were just there clear as day and then they just weren't there. And just like that vision, it was clear as day. But I don't know how to explain how that vision got there. I don't know if I was sleeping. I don't know if I blacked out. I don't know. But that was what I saw. And moving forward onto just like you were saying with and I'm going to lightly touch on this because I will not go into this subject ever again too much. But
yeah.
as an actor, I am responsible for researching everything I need to, because this character may be this, or that. This character may have this, this view or whatever. So I wrote a scene. It was based off a TV show, and I used a voodoo figure practiced in voodoo religion. And this one particular one was a trickster. He's considered a he wasn't considered evil per se. He just likes to play tricks and da 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 da, and he likes to drink and da da da. Da. Cool. Okay. Well, cool. I like, I can play around with that. I can create my own character. I can do this for class. And I asked one of my friends, hey, let's put this scene up. I think it's going to be great. I wrote it based off of this TV show. I think it's going to be great. It was. I did the makeup and everything. It was good. And I think it was after like the fourth or fifth time I did it. It was late one night. You can guess what time it was. And
Oh
I
yeah.
remember chanting. And at the time, I was studying French and Creole a lot. I do need to get back into that, but the French and Creole language part. But I heard chanting in Creole at 3 a.m. And of
Mm.
course, when I woke up, yeah, when I woke up, I listened, and I'm like, and this was in Florida, and I'm like, of course, nobody else is up, and I'm the only one hearing this, of course. Um, and that was kind of my reaction. I'm just like, here we go. Like I wasn't even, I was scared, but for me, it was just kind of like, of course. So I listened, and I just stood there. I just sat there, and I heard drums. I don't know where they were coming from. I don't know if somebody practiced that. It's very popular in Florida for somebody to be doing that. It was very possible. I waited it out and I went back to sleep. When I went back to sleep, I woke up in a dream. And in the dream that I woke up, it was like I was waking up in the middle of the night again. And it was kind of weird because it kind of reset to where I went to
Uh,
sleep in a dream. So I was awake in my dream. I was in a dream in a dream. It was kind of weird, like that whole thing.
Mhm.
And when I woke up, I could see straight ahead that the closet door was opening, and I could feel somebody. I could hear somebody breathing in there,
mm.
but it was pitch black, so I couldn't see it. And I heard the drums and the chanting again. And this time it was going a little bit faster and a little bit more. And I'm like, I already know who this is. And it was the creepiest thing to this day. I will stick by this story. I woke up and I called my friend the next day and I said, hey, listen, we can do this scene one more time. But whatever that was, I had a bad dream. I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit of prayer, a little bit of have my little Bible over next to me, and I'm gonna have a little conversation. And that's what I did. I did a little prayer. I had the Bible, and then I spoke to whoever that was. I said, "Listen, whoever you are, I was doing this out of performance and out of study. No disrespect to you. If you prefer for me not to do that again, I will not. I was like, but this is completely out of respect, out of, whoever you are. And if you prefer me not to do it again, that's completely fine. I won't do it again. And I never had anything like that happen ever again. It never happened again. I stopped. I did it one more time and I stopped. I said, okay, I don't want to do this scene.
Mhm.
So that, like I said, that experience is among those other experiences that I've had, and that's not all of them still. um, it makes me really do believe. And like I said, even if you even go back to the Bible, he didn't say that these things weren't real. He said, don't meddle with those things. You know what I mean? It was basically
Yeah.
like he didn't say nothing about like it what hey that's not real. Don't listen to them. That's fake. That's something they made up. He said, don't mess with it. And um, it's there's a certain aspect to it that I think I was probably overstepping. You know what I mean? I think I overstepped my boundaries there, and that's completely fine. I will go back into my circle. I'm completely okay with that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are my stories. Those are my
I,
bigger stories. That one was like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
that's
Hmm.
insane. That's insane.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
I'm
But you know what
speechless
was
because my
crazy?
stories were not as interesting.
You know what was crazy though? I did a lot of meditation, and I think meditation is good, but I do think it heightens a certain sense of the mind when you meditate and when you sit. And I think that's what prayer is. That's what mantras are. That's what manifesting is. That's what, you know what I mean? Everybody has their own way of saying what this is, but it is a concentration of either what you want, either praying to a deity, or you're praying to God, praying to Jesus. These kind of things are powerful. They are strong. When you meditate, it will strengthen whatever you're looking to strengthen. It will go to whatever God you're praying to. It will go to God in heaven. I really do believe that because it is strong. And I never did get so many experiences until I started meditating and started really, being open to what there is. It's almost like, and I always say this, I'm like, well, God says that He made us in His image, which is, how can you have the Holy Spirit, Jesus, and you know what I mean, and God, and they're all three the same people? I don't know if y'all realize, but like some of the stuff of like the descriptions of the angels and God, and they're scary. They are not they are not the pleasant, baby Cupid and all that stuff. Like they're not the images,
Oh,
and
no.
that's why every time you see somebody in the Bible, they see an angel, they're scared. What do
Hmm.
you think they saw? They weren't. I don't think they were this golden haired, tall, you know what I
Mm-mm.
mean, beautiful thing. They
Yeah.
were scary, and they would literally, anytime an angel came, they'd be like, "Hey, we're, we're not here for that," But it's like,
It's
but
like
it's
seeing
like,
myself in the mirror every morning, like, it's just me.
yeah, don't be scared, okay? Um, but but if God created us in His image and in His likeness, aren't we capable of meditation and um, many powers, if you will, um, not in a godlike sense, but in our own little human ways that He created us, we can also do some of those things. And
I definitely believe that. Yeah.
prayer is definitely one of them. That's why He says do it.
Hmm.
But I've experienced a side of that is, wow. You know what I mean? It's like everything is
I
not what it
think
seems.
I think being able to see supernatural things is actually one of those abilities that you speak of. So I feel like what you're saying is like I understand these things because I can see it too. Like
Hmm.
like you said, God gives us gifts, and the more you use these gifts, the more He gives you more gifts. And so, like,
Hmm.
I feel I feel where you're coming from. Like, yes, I do feel like God gives us certain abilities, certain senses, and some of us He doesn't give us those things because He knows how our heart is and how our mind is. We're
Hmm.
either not ready for it, or we don't want to see any of it, or like for instance, my older brother, he's terrified of these kinds of things. He's seen certain things before, but he doesn't want to see it, so he doesn't see it. He
He
chooses
doesn't see
not
it.
to.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That is okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I prefer for him not to see it because then he'll be like,
Yeah, exactly.
"Ah."
And it's crazy because, like I said, with those experiences, I thought I would be like that, but it's like in the moment, you're like,
Trust me, I completely
what?
understand you.
You know what I mean? It's kind of just like, okay. And each of those moments I've been like, okay, so I'm gonna keep going, whatever that was. But
Like,
yeah,
all
those
right, that
are.
really did just happen, but you know what? I'm just gonna look the other way and not tell anybody about this because then they're gonna lock me up
Hmm.
in the cuckoo house.
Exactly. And that's why I'm just like, okay, well, somebody asks, then I'll tell them. But like other than that, I'm like, I know there's
Yeah,
something out
yeah,
there.
yeah.
There's been some crazy stuff that's happened that I'm just like, okay, all right. So those are some of my experiences.
Everything you've told me so far doesn't sound crazy. My experiences have been somewhat similar, which is crazy because, like, when he was talking about the little kid, I had a similar experience as well. The one that he saw across the street that got hit by a car. My experience was something similar to that. Now I'm gonna start with that one because he started off with the little kid getting hit by a car. And with my experience, it was I was driving and it was the middle of the night. I had a friend on the passenger side. He was gonna stay over, and we were actually driving to my brother's. I was staying at my brother's at that time. Actually, no, I think it was at my aunt's house. It was my aunt's house still at that time. Yeah, or yeah, it was still my aunt's house because my friend Jacob was staying over. But yeah, because he hasn't really stayed over. Or no, maybe it was my brother's house then. Anyways, that house, I'm gonna have stories about that house. So this house used to be my aunt's house, and my aunt gave it to my brother and his wife. My aunt passed away. I think she was 70 years or older, but she wasn't really my aunt. I mean, I consider her my family, but she was my brother's wife's aunt. And she was the nicest lady in the world. I'm talking about like so sweet. And when she was still alive, I stayed with her for 3 or 2 years, something like that, somewhere along that line. But she took care of me and I took care of her. I would be like her little handyman doing stuff around the house. And then she would cook stuff up and she'd be like, can you change these light sockets for me? I'd be like, yeah. But anyways, we were gonna stay there that night, but there's this little curve right before you get to her house or right, the neighborhood for that matter. And I see this kid like leap in front of my car, but I didn't feel anything. It was like it phased through my car. And I told my friend, I was like, "Whoa, hey, did you see that?" He was like, "Huh?" He was like half asleep because I mean we had just got done we had just gotten back from a get together with the family and we were driving back home. So he was kind of like half asleep. And I was like, "You didn't see that? It was a little boy." And then he was like, "Bro, don't scare me right now." He's like, "Did you really see something?" I was like, "No, you know what? If it scares people, I don't like to tell them about it. I like to make them feel like I was like, it was just missed or it was just something else. But I know for a fact that I clearly saw a silhouette of a kid leaping out in front of my car. Well, I told my sister-in-law about it, and she was like, "For real?" And I was like, "Yeah." And the next day, what was crazy is, and I took pictures of it in the same exact spot where I saw the kid. I was going to get something to eat, and I was driving past this point, and I noticed that they had just freshly cut the grass. Well, I see some toy car. There was a toy car like right there in that spot where I saw the kid. And I was like, that is not a coincidence. And I immediately took a picture of it. And the car was in perfect condition. Like if a lawnmower would have ran it over, it was a little plastic toy car, it would have like torn it up into little tiny pieces. Especially, you know, with how tall the grass was, you know, they had to have used a commercial lawnmower. So that toy would have been, and it wouldn't have ran it over either. It would have, because the toy was a little bigger, like a little decent size. It was actually a little tractor, a yellow tractor, and I thought it was weird. So I immediately took a picture of it. The next day, it was gone. Like there was no sign of a toy anywhere. And I was trying to show my brother where I saw the toy, and he was like, I was like, "It's right here," because my sister-in-law was telling him about it, and she sees stuff too, like I do. Like she can see stuff as well. And I was like, "This is not a coincidence. This happened," you know. And my brother was like, "Oh, you're crazy. You're just delusional." And I was like, "Yeah, you just don't want to believe because you're scared." And she was like, "Yeah, he's a wuss." I was just like, "Yeah." But but yeah, we've definitely had a couple experiences in that house as well. There was another time. It was also like 12 o'clock at night. I don't know why everything happens at midnight. It's so scary. Why can't it happen like in the daytime for me? But I remember driving back from work. My parents went to church, and I was staying with my mom and dad at that time. And I remember I was driving back to the house, and in the middle of the street there was a guy stand or a woman. I don't know if it was a guy or a woman, but skinny, like bone skinny, like you could see the bones. and the shirt was just dirty and torn, and I'm gonna say it had, because I don't know what it was. So it was like standing up, and like you could tell from the knees down, it was blue jean pants. They used to be blue jean pants, but they were turned into shorts. You could tell they were torn up from the knee down, and wearing some like old raggedy white tennis shoes. And then the hair was like down below the chin, which is why I couldn't tell if it was a woman or a man. Almost looked like it was an ex meth head, which is why I kind of believe in ghosts, because I think maybe an ex like meth head killed themselves on that road, and they were like, I don't know, they were probably on drugs and delusional, and they just ran into the middle of the road. And I remember I was going 70 miles an hour, and when I saw him or her, it was to a distance where I slowed down, and it was like I slowed down to 60 by the time I got to it. And when I got to it, it phased through my car. I don't know why I was in my car when this stuff happens, but it phased through my car, and I was freaking out because I was like, "Oh my god!" I turned my rearview mirror to the side, and then I look and see where my backpack is to make sure I know where my stuff is. So that way, when I get to the house, I immediately just grab my stuff and get out of the car and go into the house. But I sped up, and I was like, "Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!" Because I was like, and I was ready to call 911 and let them know, "Oh, I hit a homeless person, or I hit a crackhead on the road, something," like. And it's sad. I mean, like, I didn't want to see anybody in that state, but the fact that I didn't feel any like or like a thump or nothing, it just like vanished into my car. I was just like, oh my god, I really just experienced this. And I sped up, and I got to the house. Well, as soon as I got to the house, my mom had a bunch of chihuahuas at that time. I mean, leave it to the Mexican family to have chihuahuas, right? But yeah, I got there, and I immediately grabbed my bag, and I got out of my car, and I closed it, and I ran to the house, and I got into the house, and I closed the door, and I look out the window, and all the dogs are barking at my car, like angry barking. And I was just like, whatever it is, it followed me in my car, and I felt it, and they feel it too. And I was just like, oh my god. But later on, it went away. It went away. It's like it just left. You don't mess with chihuahuas. Those chihuahuas are mean. They were gonna tear that ghost up. He didn't even get out of my car. But yeah, definitely good to have them around at that time. Another experience. So this is the one where it starts with the house. So when I started staying there, Aunt Cheryl was still around. I stayed with her with my brother. The reason why I started staying with her is because my brother and my sister-in-law were staying there. And then I ended up staying there too. He asked me to come stay with him. He's like, "Hey, come stay over here." So I kind of just stayed there, and then they moved out, and I stayed there with my aunt. So my aunt, she told me that she heard her husband's footsteps in the hallway, that she could hear him, and that she'd seen him sometimes. So that's where I'm kind of like, I'm like, do ghosts exist? I'm kind of like Joel. I'm like, I don't know if they do or not, but these experiences kind of tell me, I don't know, maybe they do. And the reason why is because this story is actually kind of beautiful. Like, I mean, it is kind of a beautiful story. So, she always said she'd seen him, and his name was Uncle Philip. And Uncle Philip, you like she said you could hear him walking back and forth through the hallway, and she said she'd seen him sometimes, and that he had even said at one point that he was waiting for her. And so I thought they were trying to scare me. I thought they were trying to freak me out. My brother had told me that he was in the house alone one time, and that he heard footsteps above him. And I was like, "You're full of it, man. Like you're trying to pull my leg on this one. Like you're trying to scare me," because I was already staying there. Well, sure enough, my brother and I were staying in the same room one night. We were watching a movie. We just decided to have those nights where we spend the night and just watch movies, binge watch TV shows and stuff like that. And we were sleeping in the room where they had Uncle Philip, before he passed away. He passed away actually in the house, and his ashes were in an urn still in the house. And so That didn't bother me. I'm not uncomfortable when it comes to stuff like that because I'm very comfortable with like, and I accept my fate. Like at the end, sooner or later, we are all going to meet our maker. And so it doesn't make me feel uncomfortable to think about that kind of stuff. So I mean, honestly, I didn't really think about that. I was just kind of like iffy about whether they heard stuff in the house or not. But one night, yeah, sure enough, we were sitting there and we heard footsteps. Like it sounded like a person had boots on. They were walking down the hallway, and I was like, I look at my brother and he's like, shh, shh, shh. And I was like, he's like, you hear that? I was like, dude, I heard it. And he was like, bro. I was like, nah, you're messing with me. It's Aunt Cheryl. And he's like, I promise you, bro, it happens all the time. I was just like, you know what? I opened the door and I turned on the light in the hallway. There was nobody. And we're already used to checking on our aunt. So I opened the door and I look in there and she's dead asleep, like she's just like sleeping. And I was like, oh my God, we just heard some footsteps, like. And I was like, oh my God. I closed the door and I just get in there. It was like, bro, turn on the TV, put it on loud. I don't want to hear that again. But later on, so I was in the bathroom and we were doing housework. We were helping her remodel her house and painting and stuff, sheetrock, exterior work, siding, like everything. My brother and I, we know how to do all of it. So we were helping her, do home repair. And I was in the bathroom, and while I was in the bathroom, I hear somebody trying to turn the knob. And I was like, I'm using the restroom. I was like literally washing my hands. And then I open the door and nobody's in the hallway. And I'm just like, dang, I just heard somebody like wiggling the doorknob. And I walk out. But the thing was that got me, I was like, wait a minute. It hit me when I started walking outside, like when I started walking towards the door to go outside. I was like, I clearly heard my brother and my aunt talking. So who was it that was wiggling the doorknob? Because there was nobody else in the house. So I was just like, um, and I told them to. I was like, I just, you guys try to go to the bathroom? They were like, no, why? And I was like, somebody was literally like moving the doorknob. And Cheryl just goes, oh, that's Uncle Philip. That was his bathroom. He's just letting you know you're in his spot. And I was just like, what? Like, how do you just like so nonchalant, just like But um, yeah, I definitely had those experiences. I've heard the footsteps more than once, which I finally came to accept. It was Uncle Philip, and I was just like, "Oh, I know it's you, Uncle Philip." And sure enough, my aunt, when she passed away on their anniversary,
Hmm.
and her favorite color was turquoise. And one day, while I was in the yard, right after she passed, I just felt, I don't know why, but I felt like that feeling that I felt like it was her. um, I got sad and it hit me. It just hit me one day, and I could feel her hugging me. Like her hugs were always just warm, and that energy that she puts off, I could feel her hugging me, and I was like, I know because I've it when it hit me, it wasn't the day that she passed away. It was after. It was like a day when I woke up and my brother was gonna move into the house, and they still wanted me to live with them. And I was like, all right. I was like, I'm good to still live with you guys if you want. And he was like, yeah, man. He's like, we want you to stay with us. Like, we don't want you to go anywhere. So I was like, all right, cool. Because I was like, I'd go find an apartment or something. But they're like, no, no, for what? We love you, man. Like, we would love to have you. And but before they started moving in, I was still at the house by myself. And I remember I was making some coffee, and usually I would expect my aunt to come to the kitchen like half asleep, like still like with her mouth open, almost like still sleeping, and like without her teeth. She would take her teeth out, and she would come in and like a zombie, and be like, "You okay? Did you sleep good today?" And she'd be like, "Oh yeah, I definitely slept good today." But I was expecting her to come in, and she didn't. So I was kind of like, "She's gone," Like that's when it hit me. I was like, and I started bawling. But then I feel these arms just like reach around me, and they hug me, and I knew it was her. But that was definitely a beautiful experience. So I mean, I feel like ghosts exist to a certain extent. I don't feel like they are what we think they are because we don't know what happens after this. We could stick around for a while. Hey, who knows? I don't know. I mean, we don't know what goes on in the afterlife. But I definitely like to believe that they watch over us in some way. Um, so yeah, I have another experience, and it was actually so with this experience, it gets kind of dark. So I this was a dark time for me. I was staying in an apartment complex, and I remember I was struggling with a lot of things actually in my life, and it was a very negative time in you know for me. I woke up to a kid laughing. It was like it was a very creepy laugh, like it echoed, like it was like I was just like I woke like I don't know if I like at that moment I didn't know if I was dreaming or if I was awake. So I was kind of like, okay, start clapping myself, rubbing my eyes, and trying to wake myself up. And I see this little boy standing on the edge of my bed. Now I knew something was off when I didn't even look at him because I was scared to. And you could tell he wasn't wearing any clothes, and I could only see from his waist up. So my bed like was lined up like I don't know. The door was on my right hand side, like the entrance to my room was on my right hand side, and all I can see was from my peripheral vision was he had dark eyes and a dark mouth, and so I kind of got scared. I was just like, and so when I started wiping my face and slapping myself to wake up, I was already awake. But I mean, I didn't want to believe I was awake, but I was already awake. And when I opened my eyes, he was gone. So I was like, okay, I was dreaming. I woke up from a really bad dream, and I turned to my side. So I kind of looked towards where the bathroom was. There's a hallway, and then out of the corner of that hallway is what you go left, it's the living room. So out of that corner, the kid sticks his head out of the corner, and he's just like, ha, 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 but it was like a different laugh. It was like a deep, dark, like a like I was just like, what the heck? Like, so I immediately turned around, I started praying. I was like, oh, please help me. And that next morning, I went to church actually at 5 o'clock in the morning. I honestly, that was a very scary experience, but I feel like I know why stuff like that happens. I guess it's like it's just the devil trying to scare you, and sometimes if you give into that fear, it can consume you. So they know they can get you through there. So, but I immediately started praying. I was like, I know who my protector is. I know who's guarding me. You got the big guy upstairs. So yeah, I definitely that was a very creepy experience. And I never want to go through that again. When I was younger, I know I'm not crazy. My brother always used to be like, "Oh, you're crazy," but now I kind of realize that he said that just because he didn't really want to think about that kind of stuff. So I remember when I was younger, I was 4 years old or so, or older. I honestly don't remember what age I was, but I remember speaking to my grandfather, and it was a family gathering. We were all there. And I was sitting alone on the couch, and my grandfather comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, son, how you doing?" I remember him asking how I was. From there on, I don't remember what we talked about, but I do remember we had a conversation. And I see my family at the table, just sitting, talking, laughing, having conversations as well. And so I see my grandfather, and then, next thing you know, the day passes on to the next day. One day, as time goes by, I was sitting there going through photo books. And I always like going back through photos to see what my parents looked like when they were younger. And I remember seeing one of my grandfather. And I asked my dad, I was like, "Hey, Dad, when's my grandfather coming back?" And he was like, "Your grandfather?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah. When's my grandfather coming back?" He's like, "Son, your grandfather passed away 2 years before you were born." I was like, in complete silence, and I didn't say anything else because I felt like I was going crazy. So I didn't say anything after that. Then later on down the road, I remember there was a time when my brother and his friends were riding their bikes through the woods. Now, keep in mind, my grandfather's nickname in Mexico was the Wolf. They called him the Wolf. And we were riding our bikes through the woods, and my brother and his friends, they obviously had bigger bikes. They were older. Still had training wheels. I remember I still had training wheels. And I was riding my bike through the woods and following them because I was always that annoying or aggravating brother that followed his older brother and his older friends. So I was just like, "Yeah, take me with ya. Hey, wait for me." Like like trying to like pedal my bike as fast as they were going. But they were mean. They were mean to me. They had this secret little box, and I never knew what was in that box because they had it locked. It was a little locked box that they had in the woods, and they just had a bunch of stuff in it. And I remember I was like, "Oh, I want to see." And they were like, "No, you're too little. Get out of here." And they like pushed me to the side, and they finally locked the box and they left. And I was like following them back, and then they were so mean to the point. I don't know if you guys heard of the urban legend La Llorona, but it's a lady who lost her kids in a river or something like that. Um, and she haunts all of Mexico. It's an urban legend, and they say that you can see her sometimes. That you'll hear her crying out for her kids, like "Mis hijos." Yeah, and a lot of kids are afraid. It's like the boogeyman in Mexico almost, but she's a boogie woman. But yeah, so they started telling me the Llorona's gonna get you, the Llorona's gonna get you, and they started leaving, and I was like, "You guys are so mean," and I was like, "No," but when they said that, I saw something black moving in the woods, and as I see that, I'm like, "Oh, that's the Llorona. That's it. I'm done for." Like, it's over for me. But no, my training wheel got caught in a root and I flipped off my bike. And I swear it's like a movie scene. Like people wouldn't even believe this, but I've told a lot of people this actually, and they believe it's true. They're like, "Yeah, I believe stuff like that happens to people, and it very much could have happened to you." Like I do not believe in the fact that this couldn't have happened to you. They weren't skeptical about it because of how some supernatural things work. I don't know exactly necessarily how they work, but I mean, sometimes it's not really for us to find out. I really don't want to find out. Stop, don't meddle with it. Like our friend said. um, but yeah, I definitely I was freaked out, and when I fell off my bike, this big old black wolf with green eyes comes out of the woods and just like sticks his teeth out at me, like growls at me, and I thought I was gonna get eaten. So honestly, I froze. Like when I get scared, I freeze. And the thing that I did was I backed up to a tree and I did this right here. I was like this. I squinted and I was like, oh my god, like, and I could feel his breath. Like I could feel his breath right here in my face. And then when I opened my eyes, he's gone. So I was like, what
Mm.
just happened? Like, what was that? And then I go back, I grab my bike, go back to the house, and I told my older brother, and he's like, "You're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just saying things." And I was like, "Okay." But I used to have dreams also about wolves outside of our apartment, which was weird. That's at the same apartments. It was like I was dreaming in the apartment about these, like a bunch of wolves. Like I'm talking about hundreds of wolves, just like breaking the glass, getting into the apartment. And then I remember hiding on my bed, and I remember them clawing at. I could hear them getting into the house from the living room, and I was by myself in the house. And I know these were dreams. These were definitely dreams, and I've had the same dreams about zombies doing the same thing and witches, which is weird because like how are the three connected? I don't know, but it was very strange. But it was the same scenario. It was like they broke into the house. It was the same thing: zombies, wolves, and witches in different dreams, though, not like all together. That would be even more scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely these creatures made it into my room and eventually attacked me. And so that's when I woke up. I was like, like like freaked out. So I didn't know where that came from or why it was happening to me. I do remember, and I don't know if my brother remembers this or my cousin, but I do remember this one occasion where my brother told me, "Yeah, there's no wolves in Alabama. You're crazy. There's no wolves here." And we were at we were at a friend's apartment, and it got dark, and I remember we were all like freaked out because our parents were going to get onto us because it was dark outside and we got home so late. So we were at our friend, his name was Kike, and we were at Kike's, and when we left, his apartment complex was in like a different area, so we had to like literally walk like maybe 3 or 4 minutes. It wasn't too far, but we saw three wolves. I remember one of them being black. I think one of them was white. I don't remember what color the other one was, but I do remember those three wolves, and it's crazy because it was one for each person. And I mean, three is already like a demonic number now that I think about it. But back then, I didn't know anything. I just saw three wolves. And so these three wolves started chasing us. Sure enough, we ran, and we ran into our apartment complex, but it divides in between, like it divides in half. There, in one half of the side, there's two glass doors in the apartment complex, and then those two glass doors, there's a front and back. In the back side, you have like your patios and stuff, or your little porches and your decks. And in the front side, you have the glass doors that you go into. And if you go into the one glass door, you have an apartment door on your left and your apartment door on your right hand side. And you got upstairs, you got one apartment on your left and one apartment on your right. So we went into the first entrance, and we were supposed to go into the second glass door. So the first glass door, there was these Mexican dudes grilling. They were cooking hot dogs, and they weren't grilling on a grill. They were just grilling on their stove and stuff. And so we told them that the wolves were chasing us, and they came down to see the wolves. They were gnawing at the glass, like you could see their teeth like gnawing at the glass. And I was like, that is, you got, like, I didn't know what we were gonna do. And so the guys were like, let's throw sausages out to to the back. Maybe they'll get attracted by the smell, and they'll go eat the food out the back. And sure enough, they did. They fell for it. They threw sausages out the back, and the wolves went left, and we took that window to go make it to our apartments. So those guys actually helped us. And I get to I remember this like it was yesterday. And what's crazy about this is that we finally get to our where we were supposed to be at the second glass door, and my cousin, he stayed on in the same area where we stayed at, but on top of us. He was in the apartment above, and so it was crazy because my brother and I we went to our room, and we fell asleep. The next day, like it's like a new day. And I tell my brother, that was crazy, right? He said, what? I was like, the wolves last night. He was like, what wolves? I was like, you don't remember the wolves that chased us last night? They chased you, me, and Brian. Like, you don't remember that? He was like, how did you have the same dream that I had? And I was like, bro, it wasn't a dream. Like, Brian was there. And he was like, huh? Wait, what? I was like, watch, I'm gonna prove it to you. And sure enough, later on that day, we saw Brian, my cousin, and he was like, same thing. He was like, "How did you have the same dream?" I was like, "Whoa, am I the only one who doesn't think this was a dream? Like, that's weird." And they were
Hmm.
calling me crazy, and I was like, "Whoa, it's like you're weird, man." And they're like, they were so mean to me. I was like the weird one of the group, and they were just like, "Get out of here," like I guess they were confused. I don't know what happened that night, but that made them think it was a dream. But I clearly remember it not being one, and the fact that I'm the only one who thinks that, and I have all these connections with wolves was kind of weird as well. So then time passed, nothing else with wolves happened. Ninth grade, my ninth grade year, I met a girl. Her name was or is Jovana Jokovic, and she was Serbian. So this girl, um, she came from Serbia, and her mom was, staying in Pinson. So she came to stay with her mom, and she absolutely did not like this country. Like she wanted to go back to her country. She told me all the time. But even then, like she still had fun here. And one day she did go back to her country. She's actually there now. But her mom, I didn't know she did this thing, the Serbian thing. She said, "Oh, we have a Serbian tradition. It's like do you like coffee?" I was like, "I love coffee. Like, I absolutely love coffee." It's like, "Oh, we make some Serbian coffee. It's so good." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "I'll have a cup." And she was like, "Cool, cool. Mom, make us some coffee, make us some coffee." So she did. And her mom loved me. She was a very nice lady, very sweet, very respectful. And um, she hands me my coffee cup, and I drink it all, finished it, and then she's like, "Hey, tell her to read your coffee cup." And in my head, I'm like, no, I don't really want to do nothing like that because it seemed kind of witchy to me. And so she was like, "No, no, it's gonna be cool. You're gonna like it." I was like, "All right, cool. All right, give her my coffee cup." And she kind of snatched it from me. She didn't really give me an option. She was like, "Yes." I was like, "Oh, okay, give her my coffee cup." But yeah, she gave it to her, and the lady didn't even hold it for like a second. She was like, and she gave it back to me. And on the bottom of it, I swear to God, some Harry Potter stuff. Like there was the head shape of a wolf at the bottom of the cup. She's like, "What does that mean to you?" I was like, "My grandfather." And she was like, "Huh?" I was like, "Well, they called him the wolf." I was like, "I don't know what it means, but that's it." She was like, "So I don't know. Maybe you have a guardian." I was like, "Maybe. I guess. I don't know." I was like, "He tried to eat me last time."
Right.
what's
Right.
weird is what's weird is I was actually, I don't know why, but I have a lot of people have four canines, right? Like the pointy teeth. They have two on the top and two on the bottom. Well, I have four on the bottom. I have two on the top and four on the bottom.
Ah,
Uh, I know you can,
yeah, yeah, I can
Mhm.
see it.
but I have four on the bottom. So I always thought, I don't know, maybe it's related to the wolf thing, but definitely supernatural things have occurred to me, and I don't have any explanation for that stuff. But what I do know is whatever it is that it was, it doesn't show up anymore or it doesn't pop up anymore. It's like uh, our friend was saying, when you're a kid, it's like there's this purity of heart, and there's a reason why we can see things like that pureness of heart, that kidness, innocence. Like we don't realize that if we maintain ourselves innocent, if we keep if we have the mindset of like a kid, we can actually. That's why I can still see things because I keep that innocence intact because it's a good thing to do. It's like you keep a purity inside of you. It's just I don't know. Like sometimes I don't know. It's weird. It's not easy to explain because I don't know what it is yet. I don't know how to control what I see. I don't have control over it actually. I just like to think that God lets me see things whenever He needs me to see things. Because this next thing is definitely, I consider it supernatural because I feel like anything spiritual is supernatural. And
Mhm.
so I've seen demons and I feel like I've seen angels as well because I've had certain occasions where, I feel like that being was an angel. And I definitely seen angels in my dreams. There was I had never read the Bible before I had this dream. So the first dream I had, it was a meteor hitting the earth and the earth incinerated. And then I woke up and I was like, oh, like I woke up like freaked out, like panicked. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't think anything about it. I just kind of brushed it off and I went on about my day until my older brother came to me and he told me about this dream. He said, Mikey, he's like, you're more spiritually inclined. You go to church every day with mom and dad. And he said, I had a dream. He's like, and I was hoping you'd help me kind of interpret it. And I was just like, look, man, I don't know if I am capable of doing that, but I could try. I mean, I'm not anybody like, with that type of, I guess I didn't think I had a gift for that.
Mhm.
But I mean, I gave him my interpretation of it, which was somewhat, and it was so off. It was not what I thought it was. But so he comes to me and he says, "So I had a dream that a meteor hit the Earth," and I was just immediately like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "No." I didn't even say anything. I let him continue the story. He was like, and after that, the world caught on fire. He's like, there was these angels lifting these souls out of the fire. And there was these dark figures like bringing these souls, trying to bring these souls down to the fire. And these angels were wearing gold vests and gold shackles, and they were fighting these black things off with these swords. And then I woke up and I was just like, okay, first of all, my dream, I had a dream that started off the same way, but I didn't fit, it didn't go off to the angel part. I was like, the only thing I saw was a meteor hitting the earth and it catching on fire. And he was like, what? Like, yeah, I was like, I don't know what it means, but maybe you're one of those angels. Maybe God wants you to be one of his warriors to preach his word. And, I don't know, maybe you're going to save souls from burning in the fire and you're going to fight off demons. And he was like, nah. I was like, okay, well, I mean, that was my point of view. I don't know what it is. So he didn't think that. And he was just like, it was just kind of brushed it off again. And then I remember this was my senior year. A lot of people don't know this, but I didn't have any relationships with any female all of my high school years. Like, you know, I didn't do anything. So maybe that had something to do with me being able to see certain things. I don't know. But I do remember this dream like so vividly. I'm an artist, so one day I'm gonna draw this. I'm gonna paint it. I want to paint what I saw because this dream describes something that I didn't know then, but I talked to a pastor after and he told me what it was. But I'm gonna tell you how I saw it. So I get back from high school and my mom's preparing food, dinner. And I remember I get back from school that day and I was tired, like more tired than usual. And I fell asleep in my parents' room and on their bed. I just like face planted their bed. I was like, sleep. But as soon as I fall asleep, I open my eyes and I see the world burning in front of me. I'm standing over a hilltop, but I see these black figures, an army of black figures. They look like, an army. And in the very back, like a far distance, miles and miles and miles stretched back, you could see this big seven-headed dragon. And he had some medieval armor. And it was ugly. It was like, it had thorns and spikes on it. And like, it scared me. When I saw this, it was like I don't know. It woke a fear in me, and unlocked a fear in me that just I had the chills, and it just felt so evil, so bad, so tainted, you know. And as I see that, and I see the skies are smoky and the earth is on fire. It's just like the skies were red, and I it looked horrible. It was just like a nightmare, you know. And it was until I looked to my left, and it's like the skies were split in half. They were split in half, and you could see the clouds and rainbows and birds, and you could see green trees in the background. But I also saw beside me angels with gold vests and spears, and you could see their helmets that were like Spartan like, and feathers growing like off the top of it, and they had their wings, and I remember they were ready for combat. And I looked to my right and I see the same thing, but I couldn't see how many angels were behind me because like we were over a hill. But I bet you it was a lot because and you could feel it. And it's like I gained strength. And as soon as I gained strength, it was like I gained the courage and strength to like just I was just like, oh, I'm ready. And I shoot out. And what I saw that was miles and miles back, I traveled through the army of demons, is what I'm gonna say it is, because that's what I believe they were. They were demons. I like bashed through them, and you could see them just like boom, like it was crazy. It was I couldn't make this up when I was that age, even if I wanted to, in my head. And when I got to the big old seven-headed dragon, I remember looking up, and it was taller than the Empire State Building. And I remember pulling out this ugly sword, and you could hear him growling like you know, like. And as soon as does this to like try to hit me with a sword, I do this to try to block. At that time, my dad was trying to wake me up. So when I finally woke up, I woke up to me swinging at him. I was like, ah, like I almost hit him, and he was like, whoa. He probably thought I was on drugs, like because I was sweating like the day when I received the Holy Ghost. But I talked to a pastor, and he said that was Armageddon. So that was a war between the angels and the demons. That the angel, the eyes I was looking through was Archangel Michael, and that he was the one who was supposed to defeat the seven-headed dragon, which was the devil. And it says it all in the Bible, in Revelations, and I didn't know that. But when he told me that, I got chills. I just like immediately got chills. And he's like, God wanted you to see that, son. And he's like, there's a purpose for that. I'm gonna share it with the world. They got to know that God will win this war. Michael is the strongest angel that God created. The devil might have been the most beautiful, but definitely not the strongest.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yes.
those are my experiences.
Wow. Y'all both had some really good experiences out there for sure. I could definitely tell y'all my experiences are pretty boring compared to y'all. So mine mine's probably gonna be a pretty quick ones compared to y'all because I only have a very few stories and they're pretty quick ones too. So I've only had like as far as like a demon and angel kind of situation. I feel like I've seen a demon in somebody one time. And it was actually in 2020 this happened where me and this one other person were having a disagreement on social media and it got into like private messaging and I said something that triggered this person, I guess, to do what they did next. So I said something to this person and like the communication stopped. And like 40 minutes later, I heard like a banging on the door. And I looked out and I thought it was one of my friends, like dropping off. This was at the time when like Lysol was a struggle. So I was thinking, oh, okay, he's getting some Lysol from me. Good job, Devin. Like I thought it was Devin, my friend. And so like I opened the door. It wasn't Devin, that's for sure. It was this person that I was talking to, going back and forth with, and something that I said really hit this person and and he came in and he like shoved me, like like kind of went past me, and when he was wearing a mask, like at the time with the face mask and all that, so all I could see was his eyes. And at one point he got like really close to me and like was threatening like to do harm to me. And I just feel like I just saw like darkness in his eyes. And I was like shaking as he was talking, even though my mom said that she couldn't tell that I was shaking, but like I was shaking because I thought that there was a demon inside this person because he was like this close to me and he was like in my face and like I was looking at him right in his eyes and it just seemed like it was just darkness. It was just like pure black. Like it didn't have like no color to the eye. It was just like black, like
I'm sorry.
pupils.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Joel,
Yeah,
but
you're good.
I have to. You just said that, and I have someone in my life who I, was really close to. Um, this person was very negative and was a very negative impact in my life. This person's eyes turned pitch black. This person picked me up on my shirt, slammed me on the ground, and at one point told me that she was going to kill me and pull a kitchen knife. Like,
Mm.
it was that extreme. I have a friend who had the same encounter with someone he was related to. His person turned eyes turned pitch black as well. And then I have another friend. His He's Muslim, and he was actually at a hospital, and it was a police officer. That police officer was holding him against his own will. And I'm not going to say names or anything like that because I'm not going to keep these people discreet. But that officer's eyes turned pitch black, and he has a video of it. Yeah,
Oh
that's
man.
how I saw it. Yeah, he had a video of it, and I didn't know there was a lot of people that had these experiences, but apparently they're more um they happen a lot more than we think. I don't know what they are. I call them the black eyed people.
Yeah.
But yeah, continue on. I was like, oh, you're not the only one. Yeah, I've
Oh
heard a
yeah.
lot about people having these experiences as well.
Yeah, it was pretty scary. That's the only time where I feel like I've been like in a like actual contact with someone that I felt like had a demon inside them. So that was
Hmm.
definitely a scary situation. That situation thankfully resolved after time, thankfully. But anyway, like maybe an angel story that I can share, maybe something that's less scary. That it's kind of got it's like kind of got a like sadness story to it, but it's got a beautiful side too. So it's we were me and my mom, like this was at the time where I think y'all both know, but like my mom went through colon cancer, and this was at the very beginning of her going through colon cancer back in like 2019, early 2019. So me and her and one of my older brothers, I was driving us home from going out to eat somewhere, and out of nowhere, like we got like my car just stopped working in the middle of the intersection. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, we're in the middle of like this four-way intersection. And I was like, something like, I don't know if we're about to get hit. I don't know what's about to happen. And like within 2 seconds before I could even worry about those things, a tow truck happened to be right behind us. And anyway, this person got out asking if we needed help, and of course we needed help, and we told them where we needed to go, like as far as like where can we drop off our car, which the closest thing for us at the time was Food Giant in Pinson, where I used to work. So I was thinking, well, Food Giant, that's like a place where I used to always meet up with people and like ride with, like
Hmm.
be like the person, the driver and all. So anyway, we go to Food Giant. And anyway, my mom's like, "Well, how much do we owe you?" And the guy said that like, no charge, like it's free. And so like my mom like gave him like a big hug, and then he told me like, take care of your mom and something like that. And we were like, thank you so much. And then like my brother Mitchell showed up to pick us up. And we turned
Hmm.
around and it was gone. The tow truck was gone. And I almost feel like it was like an angel kind of moment
It was.
because we never saw the name of the tow truck company. Like it wasn't like the ones that I've heard of here in the area, and it had no name. we didn't know the guy's name. I don't know if
Oh
the
my
it was,
goodness.
yeah. So and he was gone. We never saw him again. That was 4 years ago, and I still can remember it to this day. It was during the nighttime, and I also remember it was in January because Alabama was playing the national championship. Like we were trying to get home before the national championship, and it was it was just nobody there. Like he was gone like within an instant, and it was crazy. So that was like an angel and a demon experience that I've dealt with. And the only other thing that I could think of that I've dealt with was like I went to New York City back in November, and I went to like the 9/11 memorial. And while I was there, I felt like I was speechless the whole time. I felt like I had like nothing to say. It was just like a very grim kind of experience. Like I wanted to see it because it was something so big that happened in our nation, and it changed the whole world, the way we do airports and all that nowadays.
Yep.
And just going in there and just knowing that I'm standing in the place where thousands of people have lost their lives, and I'm just like walking around and like you just hear all the audio, the phone calls, that they're playing maybe, and and they say like don't be having your cameras out during this time like with the videos because it's just so sensitive, and you're just walking through, and not that I've ever done this either, but like I've heard that same feeling that people have had whenever they go to like concentration camps, like in Austria, or like somewhere where like back when the Hitler days with the
Yeah.
Jews and all. So like that's kind of the feeling that I had just walking through, and I don't know if it was like a spirit moment, a ghost moment, but I don't know, just it just felt very like the atmosphere just felt so different, and I just felt like I don't even know what to say. Like, I'm just walking through and I just feel like it's almost like disbelief that this tragedy like actually happened. So that was like the only other thing that I could think of. Now I do know a couple people that have had like demon experiences that I'm glad I have not dealt with, but like one of my older brothers, um back at one of his old houses, woke up in the middle of the night. Like you said, everything happens in the middle of the night, and and he saw like a silhouette of a demon in his
Oh
room
heck
or
no.
something. Like nope, that
Nope.
that ain't
Nope.
nope. So that was like one thing that I heard him say, that was happening, and I know I never wanted to deal with that. And then like another situation is my sister-in-law, back at the house where she used to live before her and my brother moved to their apartment that they live in now. She said that she saw like she got up in the middle of the night again and like was going to like her kitchen, and she looked down the hallway and there was a figure down that hallway. I thought, oh no, no, no. So like when she said she saw that figure, like she went right back downstairs, and I was thinking, no, like I never want to see no figure like that again. Like not again, never. And I don't want to see no silhouette of a demon. So it's like
I
those are
I pray you never see anything like that, Joel. You're such a nice guy. You don't deserve to see something like that.
I
Oh,
appreciate that. I hope I never see something like that because I feel like even just seeing this person with the dark eyes was already scary enough and had me like
yeah.
shaking up and down. And after that whole confrontation, I was like crying because I was like so scared of like not knowing what was going to happen. And yeah, so that was my experiences. It definitely one I haven't like seen some of the stuff that y'all have seen, but it does make me. That's where I'm still like just so going back with the whole ghost. Like I'm like it makes me believe it a lot more now after hearing y'all's both of y'all's stories. And I don't know why. Like I know this is like such a non-serious thing that I'm about to say right quick, but I don't know why while y'all were talking and we were talking about the middle of the night, I started thinking of the hash slinging slasher. So I was
Literally,
like,
literally.
It's the
so it's like,
hash slinging slasher.
yeah, like the lights flickering on and off, and the phone ringing, and nobody at the phone. And but
Literally.
Nosferatu.
yeah, and he's there at the end, like so.
The walls will ooze green slime. You're like, wait, they always do that.
Then who was turning on and off the lights? Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh my
that was definitely one of my favorite episodes. I
Oh
love that
yeah.
episode.
For sure. I love that episode. So going on into my last question, this is kind of like a quicker question, just out of curiosity. But my last question is this. Would y'all ever go on like a ghost hunting tour or like go hunt for Bigfoot or anything like that? Like, does that interest either of y'all?
Nope.
I've done a ghost hunt tour. I'll do it. I'll do
Oh
it.
my God,
I
what? You would
went
do it?
to yeah, I went to Zach Baggins. I actually got a t-shirt somewhere in my pile of clothes. Um I got a t-shirt, Zach Baggins Haunted Museum. He's a ghost hunter. He's pretty much like the big honcho right now of ghost hunters. And he collects a bunch of like cursed stuff or supposedly cursed stuff. And I went there in Las Vegas about 2 years ago, almost two
Oh,
years ago.
heck
Um,
no.
yeah, it was very interesting. It was very interesting. So I have, will I do it again? Yeah, I will do a ghost tour again. Do I do it often? No. I try to at least space those trips out. We don't want to attract too much, we're not trying to
Yeah,
do all that.
yeah.
But I do it every once in a while. Like I said, the last time I did it was last time I did that was about 2 years ago, and then I did a ghost tour not too far away from here, about 15 minutes away from me, and I did a ghost tour there.
Hmm.
Excuse me. And that was about um 3 months ago or something like that. So yeah, I spaced my ghost tours out. I will go, but
Yeah.
I spaced them
I personally am okay with not seeing anything anymore. Like, I didn't ask to see stuff to begin with, but I'm just like, you know what? I'll leave that to the pros. For real.
out. It's
You all,
crazy. It's just like,
you all
wow.
brave, son. You all brave because I will. If I saw as much here a chair drag across the hallway or something, I'd be like run out of there. Like, nope,
I
nope,
know, and I
nope.
think I'm the same way to an extent. I think that I've had so many experiences with just crazy stuff in general that it's kind of just like it doesn't really phase me as much like I said, when it happens, it's like, okay, moving on, whatever that was. Um, yeah, yeah, it was, yeah.
You know, my dad has some pretty crazy experiences. If I
Jeez.
could share two of his stories. Um, so the first one is when he was younger, he was actually a teenager. And my uncle, he was telling me this as well. They were both telling me the story actually. He's like, did your dad tell you the story? I was like, yeah, yeah, the story of the monk is what they call it. And there was this abandoned house. They said that they had the legend that monk they used to see a monk in there, like one of those Catholic monks, the ones with the brown robes, and like they tied that rope around their waist. You know, the ones that were like bald on the top of their head.
Oh yeah.
So he said that that there was people saying that they had encounters with a monk at that house. And so my uncle and my dad and some of their friends and their girlfriends, they all wanted to, they wanted to see it to believe it. And you know what they say? You mess around, you find out, Like they messed around and found out. Like they went to the house, they went in and they said they were walking around and one of their friends screamed and he was standing at the bottom of the staircase. This is a big house. And they immediately ran to where their friend was. He was in shock, like looking up towards the staircase. And they're like, what's going on? What's going on? And they looked up. My dad said they saw a monk with a Grim Reaper stick in his hand. And they all panicked and freaked out and ran out of the house. Like immediately started. The girls were terrified. They said they got in the car, and my uncle was trying to start the car, and it wouldn't start. And as he was trying to start the car, they were all telling the guy, like, what happened? What's going on? Why didn't you say anything? He was just like, hold on. I'm trying to like gather my stuff together. And he was like, the guy wasn't touching the ground. They were like, what? He was like, I'm telling you what I saw. The monk wasn't touching the ground. And they were like, oh, the girl started screaming because now the monk was coming out the door of the house. And their car still was not starting. And he was coming out with a Grim Reaper stick thing. I don't know what it's called. But so yeah, he was like, my dad said he was like 2 feet off the ground. Like he was levitating with the Grim Reaper stick in his hand, and he was coming towards their car. Well, when my uncle finally got the car cranked, they all turned and they said that man was gone. Yeah, so they had an experience. The second one that I want to talk about is the experience that my dad had. What was it again? Dang it, I just had a brain fart. Oh, you were talking about possessed people. So my dad wasn't the only one who talked about this in our church. Oh well, my parents' church. I mean, our church. But yeah, my parents' church. They have a church in almost like they have a lot of churches all over the U.S. and they have them also in Mexico and Europe and stuff like that. It's a pretty big church. But they had it was like so. I'm gonna start from the beginning. My dad said that there was this possessed girl in California. The way he came across this possessed girl was they were in California and my dad was just recently became a member of that church. So they were going on, to go preach to people, and they got a call from a guy who was not a part of the church, and he remembered that they had handed him, I think it was a flyer, or they had came to his house and gave him a number or something. I don't know, but he came in contact with them again and told them that he needed their help. He told them the story. He said, my kids, at first I didn't believe them. They were terrified of their older sister. Their older sister, she would come out of the room while they were watching TV. This is what they told me. And that she would turn the TV off with her eyes. She would just be like, boop, and it would go, bleep. TV would turn off. The kids, they freaked out. They were freaked out. They told the dad, and she had done this various times. Sometimes she would come out and be like, turn off the TV, and then be like, oh, no, and then she would come out the second time and be like, oh, sure, turn off the TV, but in a deeper voice. That's what the kids would say. And she would turn it off. So that happened. The dad didn't believe the kids. He was like, oh, you guys are just being scaredy cats, and Claire's just stop messing with you guys, or something like that. I'm not sure how he told them. But one night or one day, I don't know if it was day or night, the dad was sitting there with the family, with the kids, and he said that it happened to him. The girl came out and said, turn off the TV. And he was like, who do you think you are? Go back in your room. What's wrong with you? Like, he like, what are you doing? But the guy said the girl came out the second time. In a deeper voice came out and said, turn off the TV. And he was like, all right. And like, he went, boop, and the TV turned off. And so he went up to her. He's like, who do you think you are? This, and that. And then she freaking picks him up by his throat and puts him on the wall like it's nothing. Like he lifts him off of his feet. And at this point, he said he felt scared. He was like, like, how would you react to your daughter picking you up from the throat and like boom on the wall, and you're just like, I couldn't even imagine. Like that would freak me out. But yeah, so she picked him up and she slapped him. She was like, ah, ah. And he called the people from the church. They came to his house. My dad said that this girl just like she was just sitting there like like with a blank stare, like that creepy look, creepy vibe type thing. So she talked to the pastor in the church, and they got them to go start going to the church, and they told her that all she needed to do was stay close to God. That if she at all like veered away from the path of God, that she was gonna have trouble again. And she was crying. She was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's wrong with me. She probably messed with some stuff that she wasn't supposed to, and she
Mm.
meddled with some things, maybe with some kids from her school. I don't know. Like kids do some dumb things, like play Ouija boards and stuff like that. You
Mhm.
open doors, you don't even know you're opening. You unlock stuff that you don't know what you're meddling with. It's just stuff that we shouldn't be messing with. But if you don't know what you're messing with, don't touch it. I don't know what she was dealing with or what she was doing or what it was that caused her to get possessed. But so my dad said this girl finally started going to church. She was doing good. Um, then my dad was telling me that she would lift. She joined the choir, but when she was in the choir, she would lift the benches, the choir benches. She would lift them up, and they said that they had to hold her down. They were holding her legs, keeping her from levitating because they said that she was trying to float away. I was like, heck no. If I was there, I would just walk myself out and wait for them to, handle the situation. Because can you imagine seeing that? I mean, you see stuff like this in movies. You hear stuff about this from other people, but you don't really you didn't ever really think that anyone would ever see something like this for real. So yeah, they were trying to hold her down. I've had other people tell me about this. Like people in our church started hearing about it, and people started visiting California for that reason. She gained fame. Like people started wondering, like, is this true? So they went to go see for themselves, and I met another person who was from my parents' church who said the same thing. He was like, "Yeah, I seen her with my own eyes lift the benches off the ground. Like that was real." So I was kind of like, "Wow, that's super creepy." So my dad said that she got with some thug and she ended up doing bad, which is why she started getting out of control again. So she ended up with some guy who was a thug, who's like a little cholo gangster type kid from Cali, and that the pastor told him, he said, "Be careful. If she veers away from the path, you have a handful, and you're gonna regret it, and you better keep her in communication with God and close to God. Because if not, you're in a world full of trouble." And sure enough, my dad said that the girl just disappeared with the guy. And they never found him again. They never saw him again ever.
Oh my gosh. Some
Yeah.
that This is some interesting stories for sure. I can see why both of y'all signed up for this because y'all got some really interesting stories. Oh my gosh, because I can't even believe like we're past the 2 hour mark with this. Like this is gonna have to be
Oh
split
my
into two
gosh.
parts. It's so good though. I don't feel like it's been 2 hours, but it's been over 2 hours.
Oh
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, it's 7:36.
Wow.
Hey, hey.
But yeah, that was it.
This is
That was the last of it.
Wow, this is awesome. Like I love that we did this episode because I think it's definitely just opened my eyes and like to a lot of things that I've never experienced. And like even as far as like the idea of like ghost hunting or hunting for Bigfoot, I must say bears, hunting for Bigfoot. Um, I must say
People,
definitely.
people, people wouldn't believe. Like my mom, just to make it short, my mom saw three witches land in front of her eyes in Mexico on fireballs. Like nobody would ever believe that. Nobody would ever be
Mm,
like, that's not like no one would say that I believe that happened. But my mom, she's like, I know she's not crazy. I know she's sane, and she's not the only one who saw it. It was my grandmother. And my grandma was old, like she was a older woman at the time. I mean, and then it was my grandmother's friend. They froze my grandmother's friend. He was gonna throw something at them. They stood in front of this light, and all you could see was their silhouettes. He like froze in like he froze in his stance. He was gonna throw something at them, tell them to get out of here. And my mom said she heard whispers. She couldn't understand what they were saying. But when they left, the guy turned around and he said, "There's gonna be a dead child in the morning." And the next morning, a lady came into the village with her dead child in her arms. So I mean, that stuff actually happens. And I have a bunch of witch stories, like of people telling me experiences of that happen to their family members and stuff like that. Like, yeah, like there's a lot of stories that I got. And I mean, like you said, we were on our 2 hour mark, and if you guys want to continue talking about this, we can. I mean, I'm more than like down to talk about it.
Yeah, we might have to make this another another time to talk more about these
a,
because I definitely will.
a part two. As a
Yeah,
matter
we
of
really
fact,
I'm
should.
down.
we should make a part two, and like my part two, I'm gonna focus on talking about the witches.
That
But
would be
yeah,
good. Talk about
yeah,
some
I'm down.
witches, talk about some mermaids, and talk about all these other kind of things that we're wondering about,
yeah.
the Loch Ness monster. So
Yeah.
many different things. So I think I'm really considering. I think we should do a part two on this at some point. I would love to do that
I would
because
be
there's
more than down.
Yes.
yeah, so yes, definitely viewers, stay tuned because this is definitely going to be a part two with this as far as like other things to kind of question and wonder on. So definitely keep that in mind, everybody. But like I guess as far as this final question, I would say definitely no to hunting for Bigfoot. I feel like it'd be a waste of time. And then with the ghost hunting, mm, I don't know. I don't know. As that same fear where like I'm afraid to go because I'm afraid of what I'm gonna find out. But I wouldn't say I'm totally against it, but I'm not like, oh, I can't wait. So I'm kind of like the in between with that. So so, anyways, everybody, I hope that y'all stay tuned for this because I think a part two is definitely needed, and I definitely would love to have both of y'all back on part two. This would be a really good experience, just talking more about these experiences with that maybe y'all dealt with or seen or heard other people deal with or experience. So, I definitely appreciate y'all both being on here for the part one. I think this was really good.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for having us.
Yes, absolutely. And viewers, I hope that y'all share your stories as well, whether it's on YouTube or my Instagram page at Not Your Average Joel Podcast or anywhere, even on my TikTok. I'm starting to post a few TikToks on there, but I'm pretty far behind. I'm still with season one videos, but definitely stay tuned and I hope to all of y'all are going to be having a good rest of your day. I'm going to finish my conversations with them off camera. And I will see y'all in the next episode of Not Your Average Joel. Talk to y'all later.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of Not Your Average Joe. You should know the drill by now, but just in case if you don't, my podcast is available not only on YouTube, but also on most podcast streaming platforms, my Instagram page at Not Your Average Joel Podcast, and I also have a website that you can visit at notyouraverage.joelpodcast.com. My episodes will be coming out every Wednesdays going forward, so be sure to come back next Wednesday for a new episode. Thank you once again for your support, and I will talk to y'all in the next episode of Not Your Average Joe. Goodbye.